Hey guys, what's going on? My name is Lucas and welcome back to the show. Today we're doing something just a little bit different. There still will be gameplay in the background, but today I'm just talking to you guys. I'm just straight up talking to you guys about the upcoming NBA season and my predictions on what's going to happen. Standings, awards, what's going to happen in the playoffs, who's going to eventually win the championship, just simple stuff like that. Obviously, the season starting Wednesday. I'm not sure how far away it will be, depending on when this gets uploaded and edited and all that fun stuff. But like I said, season's just around the corner, and I can't wait. I'm super excited. Obviously, as I've said in other videos, my favorite team is the Pacers, and this is a very exciting year for them because of the new coach and the new system and everything that's going on, and it's got me really excited. And I'm gonna give you guys my predictions, and we're just gonna see how wrong I'm gonna be come playoff time because, well, I'm probably gonna be wrong, but that's the fun of it, right? You predict early. And obviously, these predictions are assuming no injuries, because there will be injuries. They'll probably screw over a team or two. Like I said, take these predictions assuming no injuries, assuming that everyone who, maybe isn't the healthiest person is going to be healthy. So let's just hop into it. First off, we're going to start in the East standings. Then we'll move on to the West. Then we'll talk about awards, move on to the playoffs and what's going to happen, and then eventually working our way to the eventual champion. So in the East, I think the standings are going to go something like this, and it's kind of tough because I think at number one there's going to be the Bucks, right? The Bucks will be at 1, and I mean they could be dethroned easily. Don't get me wrong, but I'm just saying they're the clear favorite for 1. So we're going to assume that they get 1, and that's what I'm going to put them at. But after that, from like 2 to 7, I think any team could really fall in that range of these next 6 teams. And I think a lot of people have kind of felt the same way about this. So at 2, I put the Celtics just because they've been here before. They don't have new players coming in. They're just kind of building off what they had last year. Again, this is kind of assuming that Kemba gets back healthy and everyone on that team stays healthy. But I do believe they're my favorite to get the 2 seed. But it's, like I said, any one of these next 5 teams could easily take that spot. At 3, I'm going to put the Nets. I do think that Kyrie and Katie will work out. I don't think they will push for the 1 seed necessarily, but I do believe, come playoff time especially, that they'll be kind of hitting their stride, and we'll kind of talk about how I think they'll end up working out come playoff time later, but I do think that they will get the 3 seed. At 4, and this one's going to be controversial because I have not seen a lot of people say this, but at 4, I'm going to put the Pacers, and the reason is, again, as I was saying, the new coach coming in, they're playing a much more modern offense, and the fact that this team got the 4 seed last year without this new modern offense, with injuries, including Vic not being healthy the whole year, I don't see any reason they shouldn't be a favorite to get a top 4 seed, to get a home playoff. I don't know why they shouldn't be a favorite to get a home playoff series. I think there is no reason that they shouldn't. And I do believe that I think they will get 4. Again, I think any one of these 6 teams could fall or go up higher. But I'm just going based on trust and talent. And I think the Pacers have a lot of talent there. And I do believe that they will push for definitely a top 4 seed this year and definitely have a good chance of making it out of the first round finally. Moving down, I put the Raptors at 5, Heat at 6, Sixers at 7. And again, I'm not sure about the positioning. I just put Raptors at 5 because they beat the Heat last year record-wise. I put the Heat at 6 just because I do think the Heat will be a better playoff team like they were this year than they will be a regular season team. I think it'll kind of be the same way, and I don't think they'll get as many wins as people think they will. And the thing is that just because I'm putting them at 6, I don't think they're that much worse than the Celtics at 2. I think these teams could be separated, but by a game, or like 3, like at the most like 3 games, and that's how tight I do believe the standings are. And I put the Sixers at 7 because they're the team that I trust the least. They've had a bunch of changes. People have been questioning whether Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid will work out. Now they're questioning whether Ben Simmons is even going to be there this year, and they might trade him. I'm not sure what's going to happen yet with that team, so I trust them the least. I put them at 7 because I do think they're a playoff team. I think they have the pieces there, but I'm not really sure how they're going to work it out. I'm not sure what their plan is, and that's why I put them at 7 compared to the rest of the teams. And at 8, this one's kind of a tough one because you could just throw on about any team. I think the Magic have a shot. I think the Hawks have a shot. I think the Hawks definitely have a shot. I think they could definitely surprise some people. But for me, I'm putting the Wizards there. I do think Westbrook will come in and he'll make the team a little bit better. I think Beal is a vastly underrated player, and I think he'll continue to make strides to push this team to the playoffs. And I think they have a lot of pieces there. And I think if they work right, it can be a step into the right direction, into the future, even if Westbrook may not be a part of that future. But I think if you want this team to truly make a push, you either have to build around Beal or you have to move Beal and start building around some younger pieces. But I think this is going to be a key year for the Wizards, and I do believe they will make a push for the playoffs. Moving over into the West, I think the Lakers will get the 1 seed. I think that's pretty unanimous. When people talk about it, I think the Lakers are a 1 seed. I just don't think there's really... I mean, like I said, injuries could get in the way. I'm not sure if the team's fully healthy, but I don't think there's really anything getting in the way of that. I did put the Clippers at 2. I do believe they will bounce back a little bit this year. They still got the 2 seed last year. I still think they will push for that 2 seed. I still think there's a couple of teams on this list, many teams on the list, honestly, that could take that 2 seed. I think the LA teams will continue to kind of stranglehold the West, at least with the top 2 seeds for now. Moving down, and again, this one's also really hard because in the East, you feel like there's those 7 teams that are going to make it. You throw in the 8th, there you go. It's a matter of where you put them rather than who's in. With the West, you have like these at least the top 2 teams that you know it's going to be in. I think you know like the Nuggets and the Jazz will be in there, and the Blazers will probably be in there. But then you have so many teams like the Rockets or the Warriors or the Mavericks or the Pelicans or the Suns who can push for playoffs. And it kind of feels like there's going to be 2 to 3 playoff caliber teams that are going to miss the playoffs in the West. And I do believe that, that's going to be the case. I think there will be 2 to 3 teams that are playoff caliber and are definitely pushing for the future, kind of like the Grizzlies, the Pelicans, the Suns, that are going to miss it. And those are the 3 teams that kind of gave it away, but I'll explain it later. Like I said, at 3, I'm going to put the Jazz. And again, I think they could definitely fall to like 4 or 5. But I think this team is in the conference finals next year if Bojan is healthy. They missed Bojan, which is about 20 points a game for that team. And they definitely missed him scoring-wise. I think they take down the Jazz. I think they definitely take down the Nuggets. I think they may not have had a better matchup for the Clippers as the Nuggets did because Jokic was a key piece in that. But I do believe that if they went up against Clippers, and remember, the Clippers were imploding. So I think if they went up against a Clippers team that was imploding like that, I think they definitely beat that. I don't think they beat the Lakers. I don't think they beat them at all. But I think they make the Western Finals last year in the bubble if Bojan is healthy. And that's kind of why I put them at 3, because I just thought they were the third best team in the West. That's kind of why I put them there. The Nuggets at 4, again, another team that can definitely push for a higher seed because they are normally really good in the regular season. I think it's more important of how they're going to play in the playoffs. Again, a lot of this is more worried about that part. At 5, I put the Mavericks. I think Luka makes a big step. I think if Porzingis can stay healthy, he's going to be a key piece. They have a lot of pieces around that team, and again, it's tough, but I do believe the Mavericks will make a big jump this year, and I think they'll be a playoff team. Again, they'll be a playoff team again, but I think they'll be a more formidable playoff team. Down the list, we have the Blazers, Rockets, and Warriors. Blazers, I think, are a pretty easy case because it's Damian Lillard. I think he'll push that team to a playoff spot. I think he's too good not to. And especially because he's got a lot of pieces around him. Again, C.J. McCollum, Nurkic, even Carmelo, who's looked really, really good recently. He looked really good in the bubble. That team's got a lot of pieces. I think Robert Covington is there now. There's a lot of pieces there. It's definitely a team that could be scary and be a lower seed and take down a higher seed. Down there, the Rockets at 7. Again, this one's also really important because if the Rockets make a couple wrong moves, everything can fall apart. They can get last in the West. I'm predicting this Rockets team, if it stays in place, they will be a 7 seed. The current Rockets team will be a 7 seed. I'm not predicting whether or not they will implode or not. I'm predicting that if they stay in place, they will be a 7 seed. I think Harden, like I said, is going to be super important. But like I said, one thing goes wrong on that team, and they're gonna snap, and they fall. It's very possible. And then again, the Warriors, another team that I think Curry's too good. I think Wiseman will come in and make big strides. I think Oubre and Wiggins are going to be really key pieces, even though they're missing Klay Thompson. And I don't think they're a contender to win the championship. I do believe that they should make the playoffs, and I put them at 8 just because I don't think they're better than these other teams. I don't think they're better than the Rockets if the Rockets stay in place. I think John Wall and Cousins can work. I think they can work with Harden, but I know Harden doesn't want to be there, so it's tough. It's tough, but I think the Rockets need to play this right. I think they kind of just need to wait it out. It's a tough situation, but they have team control at least until next year. Wait until you get a good offer, or just don't. Wait until you're forced to trade them because you're not going to get anything worse at this point. I mean, I don't really know what the offers are consisting of, but they might as well be asking for anything they can get. And that's a whole different conversation of whether you want to trade for Harden or not, but wait until you can get a good offer. Don't force anything. So that's just something to look at. And I think if they stay together, they'll be a playoff team. Again, that leaves out teams like the Suns, who I really like what the Suns did this offseason. I like that team. I love the fact they brought in Chris Paul. I don't think they needed to get rid of Oubre. Or that's the Thunder, sorry. I don't think the Thunder need to get rid of Oubre, but that's a whole different conversation. Because I like what they did. They brought in some good pieces. They brought in Chris Paul, obviously. I think he's gonna do wonders for Devin Booker and Ayton in developing them even more than they already are. I just don't think they're better than those 8 teams I put in. And again, if the Rockets fall, I think the Suns are the next team up. And that's very possible. I think if an injury happens to Steph again, or Damian Lillard suffers an injury that we aren't expecting, or maybe KP doesn't play at all, and maybe Luka can't carry like we thought he could. The Suns could step in, the Pelicans could step in, the Grizzlies could step in, even the Spurs, even though they aren't as good as people, they normally are, the Spurs could also be a team that steps in. A lot of teams in the West probably won't make it in, even though they have a team that probably could. All right, we're going to go ahead and move on into the awards. I'm going to go ahead and give my pick and then my dark horse. For the first one, the MVP, I don't really have a dark horse. I think there's maybe a set of 5 people that can win it, maybe 6. My pick is going to be LeBron. I definitely kind of want to pick Giannis again because he has the numbers in the regular season to always win it. And I think, again, his team will be the 1 seed, and I think it's definitely going to be worth it. But I just don't want to pick him again. He could easily win it 3 times in a row, but I'm just going to pick him not to. My dark horse is Luka. I think he's the most dark horse pick you can really make. I mean, unless you want to go way out of the way and pick like Trae Young or Zion or something. But like I said, my dark horse pick being Luka. I think he'll play really well. I do think he can carry that team to the playoffs, even if KP isn't there. But I don't think he's actually going to win it. I think LeBron will take it. I think LeBron will be the MVP of the season. I think he will probably average close to a triple-double. He won't be scoring as much as maybe he did last year or he has in years past. But I definitely think he will be passing the ball a lot more. He'll be getting rebounds. And I think he'll even be playing a little bit better defense just because, it's the system he was running last year, and he was playing pretty well last year too. So my pick for 6th man of the year is going to be Spencer Dinwiddie because, he's a starter-level player. He's going to be playing off the bench, at least for now. Obviously, we don't know what's going to happen to someone like him. If they can, I know they're looking to bring in Harden. Maybe even Dinwiddie starts at the 2. I wouldn't. I would start Karis LeVert at the 2. I think he's probably a better fit, and Dinwiddie's a better fit off the bench. I do think, like I said, at the current state of everything, like I said, tomorrow James Harden could be traded, and half this thing is gone. You know what I'm saying? But I do believe Dinwiddie will get 6th man of the year. My dark horse pick, and this one's a little bit out there, is going to be Derrick Rose on the Pistons. Because, let's say, Killian Hayes is the guy behind him at this point. Killian Hayes got brought in. And the reason I'm picking the dark horse is because if Killian Hayes can kind of sneak in there and start starting, if the Pistons kind of want to go younger, I think Derrick Rose off the bench will definitely be a Sixth Man of the Year candidate. And I think he definitely could win it because he has a lot of talent, obviously. And I think Derrick Rose could definitely win it. Like I said, it's a dark horse pick. I don't think he's going to win it, obviously, but I think there's definitely a reason to definitely watch out for it. My Defensive Player of the Year pick, and this one's a little bit tougher for me because I wanted to go with this player being the dark horse, but I honestly think he should be the favorite this year because of how much he's going to be playing and how much he's, in my opinion, going to be getting attention more. And that player is Miles Turner. Now, I do believe he should have won it in 2017. I think that's the year he should have won it over Rudy Gobert. I definitely think he should have won it. I think he had better stats. He played better. He just overall was a better player. But being from Indiana and they were a 5 seed, which I think the Jazz were higher, maybe only by a seed or something. I'm not sure, but whatever it was, whatever the case was, I think Turner should have been the Defensive Player of the Year. He definitely should have been a candidate, and he for sure should have been on an all-defensive team. He got none of that. But I think this year, with the new system, and he'll be playing more on offense, he'll be scoring more, so therefore he'll be drawing more attention from national media, even if, it's Indiana and no one really cares about him. I think he's not going to play any better defensively this year than he has in years past. I just think he'll get more attention, and therefore he will push to win it. The dark horse that I picked, and this is someone I've always had an eye out for, and it's going to be tough for him, but I picked his not his old running mate, but someone who went to his college from the University of Texas, Jarrett Allen. The reason I pick him, it is tough because I don't think he'll be the starter, which is very unfortunate because he is definitely a starter-level player. But I think DeAndre Jordan will be the starter. I'm actually not sure. I could be very wrong on that. I'm just not going to look it up right now. But that is my dark horse pick, especially if it does end up being the starter. I think he could definitely win it. He definitely has the defensive ability to do it. And I think that's definitely someone to watch out for who could take the Defensive Player of the Year award. Moving on to the Most Improved Player. And this one I feel more confident on when I say I'm picking Miles Turner. And the reason I was kind of leaning towards saying it earlier is that I think with the new system, they've already talked about him taking more shots. And he's been a good three-point shooter and a good mid-range shooter in the past. So if he's able to take more shots, he will hit more shots, he will score more, and I think he's still going to be really efficient. And I think the stats will obviously grow, and he will take the Most Improved Player. He's someone that a lot of people could call a dark horse in this award because there's really no reason for him to win it other than the new system. I don't think he's going to play any better. I just think he's going to be used better. And therefore, his stats are going to go up, and he's going to win the award. And this is an award that an Indiana Pacer can win because we've seen it with Paul George, and we've seen it with Victor Oladipo, and we've seen Sabonis, who was a candidate just a couple of years ago. And rightfully so, he shouldn't have won it because of Pascal Siakam's incredible rise after Kawhi Leonard. But I definitely think it's important to look out for. I do believe Turner is probably, in my opinion, my favorite, just because of the system change. The other person I kind of want to talk about before I move on is Michael Porter Jr. I think he's another guy who could definitely win it. I don't want to put him as a dark horse because I think he is probably going to be at least a candidate this year. I think he's definitely going to improve, and he could definitely beat Turner for sure. I'm not sure how well he's going to play. The bubble, his stats were kind of grown because of Jamal Murray not playing during those placement games, or whatever you want to call them. And they kind of went back down to normal. But he's definitely someone to watch out for who could definitely take a big leap if his team deems necessary. Moving on to my dark horse pick, and this one's a tough one because, in my opinion, a dark horse pick for this one is going to be someone that you don't see coming. Kind of like a Devontae Graham from last year. You know what I'm saying? No, you couldn't have picked that. There was no reason to. He just started playing, and he was proving himself. I think the dark horse pick for me, I'm just going to throw out Luke Kennard. I think, moving teams, maybe it helps him. Maybe he starts shooting more. You could have said the same thing about Landry Shamet, though. So, like I said, I don't know. I don't know how much it's going to help. I decided to throw him up there. I didn't really know who else to put up there. You could put Miles Turner because everyone would see him as a dark horse. But I think he, in my opinion, he's my favorite. He's my favorite to win the award. So it wouldn't really make sense for me. Coach of the year, I think Nate Borkin will get talks about it because obviously if the Pacers get 4 seed, they're going to be like, oh, he should definitely win it. But I think Quinn Snyder will take it because I think, in my opinion, the West is going to be tiered as the top 3 teams and then the bottom 5. And I think the Jazz will fall into that top 3. I think they will be close to the Lakers and the Clippers. They could definitely overtake the Clippers and the Lakers if something happens to them. But I don't think they will actually overtake them. But I think I think Quinn Snyder will definitely get Coach of the Year because he has had his team stick with the Lakers and the Clippers when, most people see it and they don't see the talent of the Clippers or the Lakers. But I think he's definitely he's done a great job over there already, and I think he will continue to grow them. And I think an important player to look out for in that team is, which I meant to mention earlier, is Michael Conley. I think he's going to, I don't want to say regress, but go back to more of the Mike Conley we knew, right? I think he will play a lot more like he did when he was on the Grizzlies. I think he's going to get more comfortable. He's going to get healthy, and I think he's going to play better. I think that's also a big point. I was talking about Bojan, but also Mike Conley because they didn't get a good Mike Conley. They got a bad Mike Conley last year, and I think they'll get a good one this year. But that's why I'm saying I think Quinn Snyder will take it because people will be shocked. You put him in there. I think you could obviously make the case for Frank Vogel or Tyronn Lue or Brad Stevens. But I think, like I said, Quinn Snyder will probably take it for sure. Now, the Rookie of the Year, which is one I almost forgot to put in here, I'm going to go with James Wiseman because I know he's a starter on that team. He's going to be a key piece on that team already. I mean, obviously, they're rookies, so it's tough to actually say. And he hasn't played in the preseason, I don't believe. But considering that they are already planning on starting him opening night, I believe he's going to be very good. I think he's going to surprise a lot of people in how good he's going to be because, obviously he didn't play college last year. And I think he's going to play really well. And I think he's going to win Rookie of the Year because, like I said, it's a good situation for him to be in. I think he's got a lot of natural talent, and he could even develop a jump shot. I know that probably won't be the focus this year, but man, if James Wiseman can develop, even just a mid-range shot, which I know he has a type of mid-range shot. How do I explain it? But if he can develop, a long-range shot and stretch the floor even more for that team like that, the Warriors did good by picking him. I think a lot of people were like, oh, maybe we should trade him, get a player who can play now. James Wiseman is a player that can play now. And I think he's going to take the Rookie of the Year award, and I think he's going to take it pretty handily. Like, no offense to Anthony Edwards or LaMelo or anyone who plays well, because I think there are a number of rookies that will play well that people won't expect. I think Obi Toppin is another one who could definitely push for the award. But James Wiseman, I think, just is the best player in the draft. And I think it was such a big need for him for the last, even whenever they were winning championships, that was a need for him. And I think they just filled it up, and they filled it up with a stud. But obviously picking a dark horse, I'm going to go with Isaac Okoro. He's looked really good in the preseason, and I know it's nothing to look at. So is Cassius Stanley, and I don't think he's going to win Rookie of the Year. Maybe he does. I don't know. But I think if I'm going to pick a dark horse, I'd go with him. Maybe you could make the case that Obi Toppin is a dark horse, and you could try to pick him. But I think Okoro is going to, get kind of thrust into a good position. He's not going to start right away, obviously, but I think if he gets trusted with kind of ball handling and running the offense, he could definitely be a star in this league early. He's shown the ability to, so I think that's definitely someone to watch out for, and that's why I picked him as my dark horse pick. So, moving on into the playoffs now. In the East, I think it's pretty self-explanatory. I think the Bucks will take the first round and beat the Wizards. I think the Celtics will beat the Sixers. I think the Pacers will beat the Raptors. That one's not self-explanatory, obviously, but I think the Pacers will beat the Raptors. It'll be a close series. I think it'll probably go to 6. Maybe it ends in 5. I don't know. It just depends. Because another thing to look out for, and I haven't mentioned this yet, is what's going to happen come playoff time? Are fans going to be allowed in the stadiums, because that is a big thing to note. If there's no fans in the stadiums, or if they're in another bubble, anything can happen. You know what I'm saying? But if there are fans in the stands, which I'm going to assume that there will be, I'm going to assume there will be fans in the stands come playoff time. Otherwise, it don't really make sense. But I'm going to pick the Pacers beating the Raptors. I just think they have more talent on the team. I think Siakam he might even take another jump, but I think there's a lot of players in that team that, I don't know. I just think there's more talent on the Pacers team overall. And like I said, I think the Bucks and Celtics taking their series are pretty self-explanatory. The next one I'm going to pick, and this is what I meant, but I'm saying I didn't think they would be as good as a regular season team as they will be a playoff team. I'm going to pick the Heat taking down the Nets. Not because I don't trust the Nets, but because I trust Eric Spoelstra and I trust Jimmy Butler to show up, and I trust the Heat to come out on top. I think that's a really good team over there. And again, the Nets could get James Harden. The Heat could get James Harden. Who knows? But the current teams, I think the Heat have a better coaching staff. I think they will be a better coach team. I think Jimmy Butler is going to come out. He's going to show up, and he's going to he's going to help and be a key piece in taking them down. Moving on, the next round, the Bucks versus the Pacers. I think this will be a closer series than most people will give it credit for. I think it'll probably go to at least 6, maybe even 7 games, but I do think the Bucks will take it. I think the Bucks are pretty safely bound to the conference finals in this situation. I don't think the Raptors or the Pacers would beat them. I don't think the Wizards. I don't think they'll lose in the first round no matter what happens. Maybe in the second round if a team like the Nets fall to 4 or 5, which could easily happen. Or maybe even the Heat fall to 8, and they could have a serious problem in the first round. Maybe the Heat, are a 4 or 5 seed. I think they could lose in the second round if the matchup is right. Like I said, the Heat or the Nets. But at the end of the day, I think they'll make the conference finals. I would pick them no matter who they're playing. I trust Giannis to make the conference finals. The other matchup we would have is the Celtics and the Heat, and this one's a good one because I think you have 2 really good coaches here. You have 2 really young teams with a veteran centerpiece, even though I wouldn't call Kemba the centerpiece, but he's a veteran. I'm going to, and this one's a tough one because I actually, I've been thinking about it and I haven't really come up with a good answer. I think it is definitely a series that should go 7. Maybe it goes 6 because one team just ends up having a better matchup. I would have to go with the Celtics. I just think they have more talent. It's that simple. I think that they just have more talent. But the thing is that I was saying that about the Heat last year.